The Ush, or the USH-405, the little rocket car from the Swedish, is going up in BR to 7.0. This kind of surprises me, because I understand a lot of people are scared of the Ush. I understand a lot of people are very scared of the meme car, but I don't actually think it's that effective. I don't think it's really that good. I'm personally 41 kills, 39 deaths in it with 64% win rate. The thing doesn't have scouting. The thing isn't that fast. Basically what happens is you use it as a first spawn vehicle, you run into the enemy like a crazy person and just keep throwing rockets until you kill something. And this sometimes works, this sometimes doesn't work, but the majority of the time you'll get 50 called or 30 called because this thing has absolutely no armor. I think that when it comes to the Ush, it's more of a meme vehicle than anything else. It's going to be, I'm incredibly surprised to see it go up in BR, and now, once again, because the Swedish tree is not exactly jam-packed, you've now put it at a BR of 7.0, and now you screwed over the OK67 lineup in favor for up-tiering this vehicle. So now there is nothing that fits in rank 4. Now we have the rank 3 issue, which was nothing was the same BR or similar BR, but now we have it at rank 4. You don't even have a plane to run it with. So now you're just going to have to up-tier all of the other 6.7s and the 6.0s. So instead of running everything at 6.7 with the USH-405 and the STRV-81 and the LVKV-42 and also the two planes, the J21RA and the A21RB, now you're going to have to up-tier everything to 7.0 just to play the USH. And you shouldn't do that. You really shouldn't do that. It is not a carry vehicle. It doesn't have enough ammunition to be a carry vehicle. It doesn't have enough speed to be a carry vehicle. And once you kill the wrong person, you're just going to get machine gunned to death either by a plane or from a tank. I disagree with this thing going up. I think it's fine where it is. It's not a crazy strong vehicle. I can understand why people are frustrated with facing it, but it isn't one which is taking over games. It gets maybe 1 or 2 kills and then it dies. So yeah, it's very similar to the machines that we see from Italy, but at least the ones from Italy have a little bit more of a use, because guess what? The ones from Italy actually have scouting. So you can understand why the R3T106 went up, because it's faster, it has scouting, and therefore it also has access to aircraft in a much easier way. The Orbal 74 has never gone up, and it's still, you know, a very good vehicle, and still has more combat use than the USH-405. So I do disagree with this change. The PVR BV551 going down to 8.0. This is the high tier or high rank, machine from the Swedish, which has access to the ATGM. Basically, it's very similar to the M113 tows that we have, and they're at 8.0. So I think it's right to have this PV RBV551 also at 8.0. It does get access to an upgraded ATGM, which pens 800mm, but the ATGM isn't the issue of this vehicle. Everything else is the issue when it comes to this vehicle. And also, you know, the M33A1s, M113A1, also get access to ITOs. So yeah, it definitely should go down in BR, but this is never going to be a meta vehicle. It's a little bit of fun with an ATGM on top of it. I've been playing through the UDES, and I can understand why, you know, people would enjoy these style of vehicles, but at the end of the day, they're just not very good. The other thing as well to also mention is with the recent ATGM launcher changes, where the ATGM can only go the gun depression and gun elevation of your actual mount, then I think that's an incredibly large nerf to these vehicles, and I'm kind of sad to see it, but I understand why it exists. I just think with it, you know, you limit a lot of options from other machines. One of the nice things about the PVR BV is you do get smoke grenade launchers, even stock, so that's kind of nice, but overall, it's not a machine that is ever going to be really useful. And once again, it now has the same issue that every other thing has. I mean, it had this issue before, but now it's even worse. Putting it at 8.0, there isn't anything you can put with it, right? At least at 8.3, you maybe put it with the STRV 103C at 8.7, So are you really going to use an ATGM launcher as your top vehicle at 8.0? No, you're not going to do that. You know, nobody is going to do that, especially when your backup is an STRV 103A, another ATGM launcher, or the STRV 101. That's just a really balked lineup for rank 5 of Sweden. So I don't think changing its BR is going to change that much, because you're going to run it with the STRV 103C anyway, and hopefully it does mean that it stays away from stuff like G91s a little bit more, but overall it won't make too much of a difference to the machine. It still has inherent issues which won't be fixed. The Sheridan is going down to 8.0. This is a lovely change. It's been very odd with the Sheridan, seeing the Sheridan be at 8.3 when the Bradley is at 8.0. The Sheridan has one strength over the Bradley, and that is that it can fire on the move its ATGM, the Shillelagh, where the Bradley can't fire on the move with its ATGM, apart from if it's using its battle gear. The Bradley has thermals. The Bradley has, scouting, just like, the Sheridan does. The Bradley has the speed to keep up with it, and the Bradley has access to some really nice smoke grenades. It has access to, the night vision component. It has access to ESS. It has access to all of these things where the Sheridan doesn't. So yeah, I mean, the Sheridan gets scouting, but that's about it. They're also both massive vehicles, by the way, so that isn't, a case either. The Bradley also has slightly better armor, even though that doesn't make really any difference. So seeing the Sheridan be higher than the Bradley was always very weird, and hopefully one thing that I do want to bring up, not just for the Sheridan, but mainly for the Bradley. The Bradley's modification costs for the vehicle is insane. The amount of cost in research it is to actually research the components of a Bradley is just crazy. They need to be lowered. The fact is, 25,000 RP for a horizontal drive or a rank 1 modification, 22,000 for a rank 2 modification, 25,000 for a rank 3 one, and 27,000 for a rank 4 modification. If we want to compare that to even something like the M1A1, the M1A1 has lower research required RP requirements when it comes to its modifications than the Bradley. Right? The only tank in the tech tree which has higher modification requirements would be the M1A2 that I can at least find. There might be another one. Maybe the ADATS is a little bit more expensive. No, the ADATS looks very similar to it. Oh no, I think it's slightly more expensive than the Bradley, but you get my point. Isn't it very odd that the Bradley has such high RP costs for its modifications? They definitely need to be lowered. But when it comes to Sheridan, this is a positive change. Now there is actually a decision to be made. Do you bring along the Bradley or do you bring along the Sheridan at 8.0? And if you haven't played the 8.0 American lineup, it's actually really fun. The T95E1 is a solid MBT. The M247, the Sergeant York, is a very fun AA. It's an incredibly powerful AA as well, especially with its proximity rounds, so to have another light tank added to that lineup is very, very fun. Oh, also I suppose Wally's there as well, the M901, but I don't think they've fixed its battle gear yet, so yeah, that already has that has an issue or a bug that needs to be fixed. I just want to check if they have fixed Wally while I'm just sat looking at the game, but the main thing is, let's see. No, Wally isn't fixed. They've just got rid of the battle gear entirely. God damn it. Oh, but yeah. Very, very sad for the good old Wallmeister. But yeah, I like that change for the Sheridan. I think that's good. Oh, the STRV 103C, they're moving down to 8.3. So now it can't get updated into 9.7 matches. The STRV 103C has the same issues that all the other STRVs have right now. It doesn't have... it's very hard to use unless you are fully upgraded. And even when you're fully upgraded with all the mobility aspects and also the crew aspects, it still has really tough time actually being able to, you know, set itself up. What I found is the hull aiming mechanic works okay on flat ground, but once you ever throw in an elevation element, you screw yourself. The worst I've seen when it comes to the hull aiming is if your tracks are not is at 0 degree on the horizontal. So let's say you are sat on like a hill and your right hand track is -5 degrees down, and the other track is, let's say, a +5. So this means that you're tilted on the horizontal axis. It just means that the vehicle does not set itself up properly. It just gets confused, and then yeah, it doesn't work well at all. So the STRV 103C, I think going down is a positive change. It takes it out of that 9.7 bracket that, you know, it can't play, and it'll mean that it'll get downtier a little bit more, but it won't be a very good vehicle. The 103A that I have a positive KD in it, but a negative win rate, because you have to you have to play these vehicles incredibly defensively, and because of that, you have inherent issues with actually being able to carry games. So even though it's nice to see it go down, it won't really change its effectiveness. It will just mean that you can now still run the PVRB V at 8.3 as well, and you know, it basically doesn't have a BR change. The other thing is now it'll be nicer on the backup jets as well, such as the JA29B and also the J29A, so that's good. But I don't think it'll make too much of a difference. The inherent issues will not be solved by a BR change. The BMP-3 going down, that is very nice to see. The BMP-3 going down to 8.7, I'm very happy with. I think personally, the BMP-3, it's very hard to take it over the BMP-2 just because of the ATGM reload. And also, you know, all it really has access to is thermals. The one really big strength of the BMP-2, which is always overlooked, is you can fire the ATGM from cover. You can cover your whole vehicle apart from the ATGM launcher and fight a target at a range which you normally wouldn't be able to fight them at. The BMP-3, you always have to expose your vehicle to be able to hit another vehicle. And at a higher BR, which it was at 9.7 or 8.7, with everybody running around with thermals, or sorry, the majority of people running around at 9.0 with thermals, it meant that whenever you exposed yourself to fire your gun, or, you know, your ATGM at an enemy, you were going to get mullered because you didn't have the armor and you had to stand still in order for that ATGM to hit, you know, or to guide it in properly. So I still would prefer taking the BMP-2 over the BMP-3 because of its multi-role capabilities of being able to shoot down helicopters and also being able to shoot down airplanes. But the BMP-3 being lowered in BR is at least a positive change for it. It also means that, you know, it won't always see just a ton of premiums mullering it, and now you can run it with the T55AM and also maybe stuff like the T62 or even the incoming Object 279 and have a more complete lineup around it instead of it being, you know, second fiddle to something like a T72 or a T64A. The M60A3 TTS is going down to 9.0. I think this is a positive change. The M60s, especially the higher tier ones, have always been too high tier. It's kind of odd when, well, it isn't odd, but when the Rise P stayed at its BR for such a long time and then it got lowered. But we see the M60A3 TTS being at 8.7 for the Chinese, so I think for the time being, seeing the American one go down to 9.0 is a positive change. The only difference between them is really the ERA, and I don't think that should change its BR too drastically. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see either the Chinese one go up to 9.0 or this one get dropped again to 8.7. But at least dropping this one to 9.0 makes a decent amount of sense. The automatic going up to 10.3, it doesn't really make any difference. You're going to run the automatic anyway at 10.0 or 10.3. It's very strong at killing tanks. It's very strong at killing planes and helicopters. The only thing it's not very strong at is against stuff like T-80s from the front. So as long as you don't get too many of them and just face mainly NATO MBTs, it'll still be really strong. The BR change doesn't really change too much to it because you'd always get into top tier anyway. The Stormer HVM going down, down, I think is sad to see, but unfortunately it is a sign of the times that we live in. So the Stormer is one of the worst AA at top tier, and that's not because it's mainly an issue not because of the Stormer itself, but because of how the game works when it comes to server-side and client-side stuff. Because the Stormer doesn't have proximity shells and you have to hit with the darts instead of actually just, make them explode near the target, which is how stuff like the Florak works, the Roland works, the ADATS works, the Tunguska as well. The Stormer has to physically hit the target that is coming in. The problem with this is because of the slight lag between, the server and the clients that is always present, it's incredibly hard to actually hit targets in battles with the Stormer, and therefore it loses a lot of its usability compared to a lot of those other top tier AA. So seeing it go down, even though, in my opinion, it has the highest skill ceiling of any AA, and meaning that it can eventually become the best, because of pre-existing issues, that's not ever going to happen, unfortunately. So the Stormer going down, I think, is fine. I don't think it changes too much. I suppose now you can run a 9-7 lineup, with the Vickers MBT, and that will mean that you get down-tiered a little bit more than before. So yeah, I mean, overall it's nice, but yeah, they took away also its tank killing capabilities, if I remember right. You could actually really decimate tanks. Before, there was actually a video or a replay that Xanthro sent me that you killed like 6. He killed like 6 ground vehicles in it, and if you hit a vehicle before your darts split up into the 3, you could nuke vehicles, but I'm pretty sure they changed that, unfortunately. So that's all the ground vehicle changes. Let's have a look at the fleet ones really quick. There isn't too many to actually talk about, but here you go. This is what we have a look at. So the fleet ones, they're moving down a few of the Japanese machines. The Type T1, the number 13 Type 44, and also the T51B. All of these are positive changes. If you haven't played the Japanese fleet at lower tiers, let's just say they struggle, I think is the best way of putting it. They definitely have some of the weakest rank 1 vehicles, and definitely some of the weakest rank mainly rank 1, I should say. Rank 2 isn't too bad, but the problem is the ones which are okay are pretty expensive. The Chikugo, 220,000. The Type 11, 75,000. These are not cheap machines, and that is a bit of a problem. But anyway, so the Type T1 going down to 1.0, it is pretty much the same capabilities as the Type T14, with its 2 7.7mm machine guns and also its torpedoes. So yeah, I'm fine with it being, down in BR. I would actually swap those 2 machines around. I actually think that the T1 is worse than the T14. Just make that the starter vehicle. And maybe the reason they don't make it the starter vehicle is so they don't have such a negative experience, coming in. The number 13 Type 44, which is sat, where is it even sat in the tech tree? I can't even see it. Maybe I'm blind, who knows. It's a 2.7 right now, at least in realistic, so let's have a look. Is it this one? No. Oh, maybe it's not even Japanese. What would it be then? I have no idea. The number 13 Type 1934. This is definitely a Japanese name. I just can't see it. I must be blind, so I apologize. I'm not sure. I can't comment on the vehicle because I have no idea where it is. But anyway, the T51B going down to 2.3 I think is fine. The T51B is actually really deadly against other PT boats, but it's really deadly in a very unorthodox fashion. You have to be able to go backwards in order for it to be really deadly. Because the way that the 25mm are set up on it, they're set in a triple stack on the back of the vehicle, and because of the way that the shielding works on the armor, you can't actually shoot straight unless you're going backwards. So you have 2 ideas which are facing against each other in really negative ways. So you got the torpedoes that you want to launch forwards, but then you want to gun people down using the backwards guns. So unfortunately, you have this really bad situation with it, where it just isn't able to be able to get guns on target. So yeah, I could understand it going down. I don't think it's the same as the Type K8, but I have actually. Oh, okay. So the number 13 Type 1944, I think, is actually the Type K8. Yeah, it's called the number 13 class, the Kusente. So they're lowering that one too. I mean, the K8's main gun on the front, the 8cm or the 80mm, is not very good, but the secondary armaments of the 325s and also the dual mounted 13.2s are actually pretty good. So I would actually personally keep this thing at 2.7. I know that it doesn't have as much firepower as other 2.7s, but you know, I think it's better than the T-51B on the way that it's set up. But I suppose if they want to push both of them down, that's completely fine, because it just means you can run a 2.3 lineup. You can stay away from that 3.7 early destroyer lineup, which is really strong, that you can't deal with. So just from that point of view, they're now going to face much more of their similar vehicles, so I think that's a positive. The S100 S204 Lang, this is going down to 2.3. So which one is the Lang? Because there are so many different ones when it comes to the S100s. Well, actually, no, there aren't that many. There's only 2 right now. But I'm guessing we're going to get, you know, some of the other S100s at some point. So this one, the S204, going down in BR, I think is fine. It is... You're running into this weird situation, though, once you put it down, because it is better than its counterpart S100. So you are pretty much just saying that you have to grind through this worse version of this vehicle to get to this better version of this vehicle at the same BR. It's the same problem when we talk about the Shermans, right? So now that the Shermans, they've sorted out their BRs, where the Shermans are very much more set up, so... they're very much more set up now, so you are able to... Oh god, sorry, I'm blanking here. Yeah, so like there's a progression in BRs as you go up the Shermans. Now they've actually done the opposite when it comes to these S100s. So it's positive from a lineup building point of view, but it's negative from a coherent point of view, because now, you know, you can set up a really cool 2-3 lineup with the R boots, the R301 and the 2 S100s at 2.3, but now it just means that, you know, people are going to look at the 1945 and be like, well, why would I take that over the 1944? And the answer is, I don't know. Like it's kind of as simple as that. Well, actually, you know, the reason why you take the 45 over the 44 is the 44 has a really annoying ammo rack in the front of it where the 30mm is, and if you pop that, the whole ship just goes kaput. So yeah, that is a bit of a problem with it. I'm fine with it going down, but it's just, once again, it's that issue with progression we've talked about. The Krasny is going down to 5.0. Good old Krasny. Haven't seen the Krasny talked about in a very long time, since it used to be incredibly good. Now you can run it with the 5.0, the Cav Cats, so you can have a bit of fun with that. But the problem with top tier, and I'm going to say this about all the 3 of the next vehicles instead of having to discuss them individually, none of this matters, because if you're at 5.0 and above, you just get up tiered into the Eugen and the Hipper and all of the Brooklyn and the Helena, and you just get battered. So the BRs above 4.7 don't really matter. Basically everything should be treated as if it is a 5.7, and yeah, have fun with that. But I do overall, yes, the Raleigh should be down tiered, yes, the Crim should be down tiered, the Belfast I don't think should be down tiered if we're not going to move the Southampton. I think the Belfast I think people are just using the Belfast Belfast more over the Southampton, because it's you have to, you know, research all of the light cruisers to get to the Southampton, where you can just buy the Belfast instead. So for me, when I have a look at, you know, the machines, I would definitely say that it doesn't matter down tiering them, because they're just going to get up tiered anyway. I suppose with the Crim and the Raleigh, there will be a few times where you get into those 4-0 to 5-0 matches, and at that point, you know, maybe it makes a little bit of a difference, but really, overall, not too much. So, overall positive changes for Naval. The ground forces one's a little bit of a mixed bag, but mainly also positive. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. I just want to thank Ambrosius McClellan, B. Young, Blackie, Chris Giltnane, Daniel Stanton, Jay Wilt, John Ryman, Martinez, Super Cacti, Trigger Hippie, Eugens Terry, and also Elove Goat and Samuel Slick for supporting the channel.